Hi Scrappy friends, welcome to my channel. So today is a quick update on my photo printing and organization. So if this is your first time watching this series, what I'm doing is every month so far this year, I come on and I talk about my personal accountability to get my photos printed. I felt like at the beginning of the year I was behind in my scrapbooking, and for me, I like to have my photos on hand, ready to go, so that I can pick a topic and pick a theme and then just move forward with my scrapbooking. So printing photos is one of the parts that I don't really care for the most. So I really have to schedule time and opportunity to work with that. So that's what I've been doing. That's been my goal for the year. I feel great about my progress that I've been making. I have 2 big boxes full of photos. So I do think that I could maybe slow down a little after this year. I do want to still continue with my flow for the next couple months, and then in the new year come up with a new plan. So what I did this month was continued printing. I focused very heavily on my daughter's 5th grade school album. So that got all printed, and then I had some catch up to do on 2017. So now those are all printed, and as well as everything is up to date for 2022 as well. So I feel really good about that. Here's a picture of what they look like when I was sorting through them and putting them into piles. I did do 120 photos as what I printed this month. So I'm very pleased with that. And now here they are. I've put them all in their envelopes. So again, if this is your first time watching, I divide them once they come back from the printer. I put them in their stacks, put them in these envelopes so that they're in order by year in my photo box. And then when I'm ready to scrapbook them, I just pull them out and the whole envelope out, and I'm ready to go. I write down how many photos are in there and whether they're vertical or horizontal and how many of each. And I do, as you can see, I reuse the envelopes until they get really messy or really destroyed, then I recycle them. Then once I do that, once I put them in the envelope and I write on the envelope, I then write it in my log here. Under each year has a tab, and I just log it in here. It's just a handwritten note. And yes, I do double duty. I write it on the envelope here, and then I write it over here, how many photos, if it was printed. And then again, I write down whether they were vertical or horizontal and how many of each. That's just my system. It keeps me moving forward. It keeps me motivated when I want to scrapbook and I'm looking for an idea. This is the book I grab for, so it's worth my time to rewrite it in here. And then once I make a decision, then I go to pull the photos out of the box. I really just advise coming up with your own system. This is just what helps me keep organized and keep moving forward. Each month I like to talk about another topic. We've talked about sorting through old photos and getting those organized. I showed you last month some duplicate photos that I've gotten rid of, and I still am moving forward with that project as well. I've shredded a lot more photos, so I've cleared out like 2 big boxes from my shelf, and I'm just making great progress with that. But what came up last month, both here in the comments of last month's video, but also in a group of ladies that I meet once every couple weeks and we sort through photos, we started talking about digital photos. So I thought that this would be a good time to bring up, what do we do with our digital photos? For me, a topic that I feel like I have a really good system for myself. It works really well for me. Ever since I went digital, which was back in 2003, I organized my files on my computer in the same exact way as I do today. And it just helps me find things. I know how to find things quickly. I know where to go for them quickly. And that's my biggest concern. So for example, my daughter, when she was in 5th grade, that was back in around 2008. So I was able to go right to my files for that and print out all of her 5th grade photos. I didn't have to sort through them. But I know some people maybe don't have that system yet. So I just wanted to give a couple tips on how I do it and understand that this is strictly how I do it. And I know there's probably lots of other ways out there. So please do whatever works for you. And also list in the comments. People are reading the comments, trying to figure out the best way to store their digital files. So let us know in the comments how you do it, and that could be very helpful for somebody. What I do is, and what I recommend is, I sort mine chronologically. So each year has a folder, and then within that folder, I break it down even further. So that would be my recommendation, is to sort chronologically, because that's kind of how most of our brains work. We work on a calendar system. Our lives are on a calendar system. So a lot of times finding your photos will be a lot easier if you put them in chronological order. So I do something like this. Every year I start a new folder on my computer, and it's strictly called Family 2010, the next year Family 2011, and then Family 2012, and so on and so on and so on. So on my computer, you can go in, you would see all of these listed just like that. And then I break it down even further. But you can also have other albums or other ways that you would sort besides all your family photos. There was a time we were in Girl Scouts, and so at that time I have a Girl Scout album that was separate than my family album. So you want to think about how it is you want to scrapbook, how you want to put your photo albums together, how you want to find those photos on your computer once you put them there, or on your phone. This could be the same on your phone if you have a lot of photos stored on your phone. So you do need to kind of take a couple steps and plan ahead how you're going to want to locate these later on. But I've always done it since 2003. I have one called Family 2003 all the way to this year, which is Family 2022. So that works for me. Then under each year, so for example, I have Family 2010, then I start listing all of the events for that year. I do both major and minor events. And so then under the family is the big folder. Then I have folders within each year. So under Family 2010, I then have a folder called Christmas. I have a folder called Mom's Birthday, and so on. So I do big things, like maybe something that's different for that year. College graduation happened, then that would have its own folder. And then I would even do minor things, like if we just took a hike at a park that we like that's nearby, that has its own folder. Now, I am pretty good about going in every month. So I still use a camera and my phone for taking photos. And I have to say, I'm actually very good about going in monthly, or if it's not monthly, it's within a couple months. And I download both my camera and my phone. And I've done that for years. I just put myself on a system. I try and tell myself the first of every month, go in and download those photos. And so that's just has become a habit after I've done it for so long. I don't like to keep things stored on my camera too long, because then when you're starting to run out of space on you're sitting at a college graduation, and all of a sudden you realize you have no space on your camera, and you're sitting there trying to delete photos. And I don't like that. I like to have a clean, fresh camera. So I am probably one of those rare people that download quite often. In fact, my phone, I download so often, and then when people want to see photos of my kids or whatever, I sometimes don't even have any on my phone because I download so often. But again, come up with a system that works for you. So I download from my camera and my phone, and I make new folders under the current year that we're in. Then when I go to print, I go into that folder, I'll go into that event, and let's say I'm printing Christmas. This is where you want to start looking at your individual photos. Okay, you can do this as you're importing them in, or you can do it as you're getting ready to print. But whether you're using printed photos or digital photos, all photos still need to be managed in some way. We have to still take the time to look through whether we print all of them and then do this step, or we do this step before we print. So it still has to be done, but we need to go through each picture in those folders, and we need to decide, what do we need to do with them? First off, I would recommend deleting all the bad ones, all the blurry ones, the ones you can't see, the ones you don't like. Delete all the bad photos. And then your next step would be get the ones pick out the ones that you consider are print worthy, the ones that you can send to the printer to have them printed. So what I do is I then open a folder on my desktop, and as I'm going through Christmas, I'm deleting bad ones and I'm sending the ones that I think are worth printing. I send it to the folder that's on my desktop. And then once I have all the photos from all my categories that are ready to print, I just go to that folder and send those to the printer. Okay, and then same thing like downloading. You have to come up with a schedule that works for you for printing. Some people print from home, so they print their photos right when they need them to put them in the album. Other people like myself, I like to send big batches to the printer. Then once I have them on my computer, I can't stress enough that you need to save them. I always make sure I make my saved backup copy before moving on and deleting them from my phone and my camera. So they're on my computer hard drive, but then I also have an external hard drive, and this is the one that I have. This one is actually a new one. I just transferred a bunch of stuff over to it. This is a new one. It's a Seagate. I bought this at Costco. This one happens to be a 5 terabyte, so I could store a lot of photos on here. So before I delete from my camera or my phone, I make sure they're on my computer and then they're backed up onto my hard drive before deleting. And I cannot stress that enough. You have to have some kind of backup plan. A lot of people right now are using the cloud. I personally do not use the cloud because I feel like somebody else is in control of my photos, and as silly as that sounds, I like to be in more control. So I have my external flash drive right here and put it on that. But you can also use smaller thumb drives if you want to do it by year or however. But I cannot stress enough, save, save, save. So that's my system in a nutshell. It's actually what I think is a very simple way to do it. If you have a ton of photos to sort through, then yes, this is going to take some time. It truly is no different than if you had physical photos and you had to sort through them. Keeping those online photos organized is just as important, easy to access. So when you're ready to get them into your scrapbook, you know exactly where to go to find them. So yeah, it's going to take some time to go through, get that set up. So to recap, we want to look at every photo because every photo deserves to be handled and managed in its own way. We want to go back to deleting those bad ones and printing the good ones. And then there's always going to be those ones that you're not sure, like you don't want to get rid of it, but you don't necessarily want to print it. And when we talk about physical photos, we talked last month about we archive those and we put those in a box, and that box maybe we'll go back to someday, maybe we won't. Same thing with our digital ones. Just leave them on there if you're not sure you want to delete them. Again, save, save, save. And then the last one is to find a system for printing and downloading. It has to be a system that works for you and something that you're going to follow through with. And that's it for our photo update for this month. I'm going to be plugging forward and continuing this series for the rest of the year. There's topics that you want to discuss, please list them down in the comments. I really appreciate your comments and I love reading them. I love to hear how other people handle their photo organization. And that's it. Until next time, take care and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.